I hold my water glass tighter, my knuckles turning white as Sophie's words hang between us. So next week I'll be moving into your place, she says with a relaxed smile, like she's just saying she's switching to almond milk or starting to jog, just until I figure things out. The champagne pops beside me. My dad is smiling proudly as he pours the bubbly drink into crystal glasses I've never seen before. My mom's good china, the set she only brings out for Thanksgiving and Christmas, shines under the chandelier. I should have noticed something was up from the table set up alone. Sophie is sitting at the head of the table. The fancy settings. The chilled champagne. This isn't a normal Sunday dinner. It's an ambush. I've already started packing, Sophie adds, taking a glass from Dad with a graceful nod. It shouldn't take more than a day to get everything moved in. My parents exchange happy looks, nodding along like this plan is perfectly reasonable. Like my agreement doesn't even matter. To new beginnings, my father says, raising his glass. Everyone lifts theirs. Everyone except me. Now the boxes in the garage make sense. 3 days ago I found them stacked by the wall, big plastic tubs labeled Sophie's winter clothes and Sophie's books. When I texted her about them, she brushed it off. Just temporary storage, she said. Just until I find more space in my apartment. I should have known. Just like I should have known what it meant when I questioned my parents about paying Sophie's rent for the 3rd time this year. She's going through a rough patch, Mom had said, waving away my concerns. That's what family does. We help each other. And I can still hear her voice from last week, the phone call I wasn't supposed to overhear while I stood in her kitchen. Vivian is so lonely in that big house, she told Aunt Josephine. She needs her sister's company. It's perfect timing. Perfect timing. As if my entire life exists just to make room for Sophie's crises. I set my water glass down and reach for my purse beside me. My hands are trembling, not from nerves, but from pure anger. Why do you look so serious? Sophie laughs, glancing quickly at our parents. This is good news for both of us. You get company, and I get to save money on rent. My fingers close around the manila envelope I brought with me. The one I almost left in the car because I thought tonight wasn't the right moment. But there's never a right moment with my family. There's only their moment, their plans, their expectations. My hand stops shaking as I place the envelope on the table. Actually, I say, my voice calmer than I feel, I have news too. My parents' faces change instantly. My mom's smile fades, her eyes narrowing. My dad lowers his champagne glass, his forehead tightening with concern. The shift is small but clear, the united front forming against the daughter who isn't sticking to the script. What kind of news? My mother asks, her tone carrying a warning. Don't ruin this. Don't be difficult. I can feel the usual labels floating in the room. Selfish. Difficult. Uncaring. If I disagree, I become the family villain. Again. Looking at their expectant faces, I suddenly see the truth. This pattern has ruled my whole life. Sophie takes. I give. My parents enforce the deal. The roles never change. Until now. I place the envelope at the center of the table, my fingers resting on it. The room goes silent, heavy with my family's expectation. What's that? My mother asks sharply, like my interruption is messing up an already finalized plan. This, I say, pulling the papers out, is the sale agreement for my house. I sold it last week. I have 30 days before I move out. The silence is complete. Sophie's champagne glass slips from her hand and shatters on the floor. No one moves to clean it. My father's mouth opens and closes like a fish pulled out of water. You what? Sophie whispers. I scroll through my phone, pulling up the Pinterest board I found this morning. Interesting timing, isn't it? While you were planning to move in, Mom and Aunt Josephine were already designing your bedroom in my house. I turn the phone around, showing them their board titled Sophie's New Room. My throat tightens as I see the shock in their eyes. 9 years of saving everything I could, working overtime, skipping vacations, wearing old clothes, just to afford that house, my dream home. And to them, it was simply something to redirect to Sophie. My father stands suddenly, towering over me. "You can just cancel the sale," he says, waving his hand like it's nothing. "These things have cooling off periods." My mother stands too, touching his arm. "Vivian, we already promised Sophie she could stay as long as she needed. You can't expect her to find a place in 30 days. Actually," Aunt Josephine jumps in from the end of the table, "we were going to move most of her things next Tuesday while you were at work, just to make things easier." The organized betrayal knocks the breath out of me. I glance at Amara, my mother's oldest friend, sitting awkwardly beside Aunt Josephine. She stares down at her plate, refusing to look up. "You can't do this," my father says, his voice sharp. "What about your property taxes? You know I always help with those." The threat is not subtle. His one yearly contribution now dangled as leverage. "Vivian," my mother says gently, using the voice she reserves for talking about unstable people, "I'm worried about you. This kind of impulsive decision isn't like you. Are you feeling okay? Have you been taking care of yourself?" I recognize the tactic instantly. If I'm not obedient, I must be unwell. "You did this on purpose," Sophie cries, tears running down her face. "You found out I needed a place, and you sold your house just to hurt me." Her words hit me like a punch. This is always how it goes. My boundaries are treated as cruelty. My self-protection is labeled selfish. For a second, I think about explaining the truth. The roof replacement that wiped out my savings, the broken water line, the heating system failure, the money problems that made selling the house necessary. But why? They've already decided I'm the villain. "I made this decision for my own reasons," I say, keeping my voice steady. "And it's final." "So you're just going to leave your sister homeless?" my mother snaps. "After everything we've done for you?" The familiar guilt lands on me. Everything they've done for me. The endless family debt that only ever goes one way. "Sophie isn't homeless," I say. "She has an apartment. And if that doesn't work, she can stay in your spare bedroom." "That's not the point," my father cuts in. "Family helps family. Period." The unspoken ending hangs in the air. "And you're not being family." I say, gathering the sale papers back into the envelope, "that we have different definitions of help." Under the table, I feel a soft squeeze on my hand. Amara, still avoiding everyone's eyes, whispers, "Good for you." It's a tiny bit of support, but it feels huge. Someone in this room doesn't see me as selfish for protecting myself. As I sit there, surrounded by their accusations, I wonder if I should explain the financial problems that forced me to sell my home, or if I should stay firm without defending myself. Would my honesty help them understand, or just give them more ways to attack me? The first call comes Tuesday morning while I'm making coffee. Aunt Josephine's name appears on my screen, strange for a weekday before 9. "Vivian, honey, I just talked to your mother," she says in that voice she uses for funerals and family scandals. "Is it true you sold your house just to keep Sophie from staying with you?" My coffee spills over the rim and burns my fingers. "What?" "Sophie called me crying last night, saying you sold your beautiful home just to hurt her, even though you knew she needed a place to stay." The burning in my hand slowly fades, but another kind of heat rises in my chest. That's not what happened. Your sister will be homeless, Vivian. I never thought you could be this cruel. The calls don't stop all day. Uncle Robert, cousin Jennifer, even my dad's golf buddy Chuck, and I still don't know why he's involved, all say the same thing. Every conversation follows the same script. Sophie is in trouble, I'm heartless, and they're all disappointed in me. While I'm making dinner, I make the mistake of checking Facebook. Sophie's newest post sits right at the top of my feed. The hardest lesson in life is learning who really has your back when things get hard. Family should be forever, not just when it's convenient. There are 27 supportive comments under it, including one from my mom. "We're here for you, sweetheart. Always." My hand tightens on the knife. The carrots start getting chopped a little too aggressively. The final blow comes on Thursday. My coworker Lisa stops by my desk with a worried look. "I ran into your sister at Starbucks this morning," she whispers. "She told me about the house situation. If you need help finding her temporary housing, my church has a program." The carrots on my cutting board practically explode under the knife. "What exactly did Sophie tell you?" Lisa shifts uncomfortably. "Just that she's about to be homeless because of some sudden decision you made." She seemed really upset. My jaw clenches hard enough to hurt. "Thanks for your concern, Lisa. But Sophie isn't homeless. She has an apartment. And parents with a 4-bedroom house." When Lisa leaves, I lock myself in the bathroom stall. My hands shake as I text my sister. "Stop telling people I'm making you homeless. It's a lie and you know it." Her reply comes instantly. "You're selling the house I was counting on. What would you call it?" I close my eyes. The roof replacement came first, $11,000 I never planned for after the March storms caused leaks in 3 rooms. I drained my vacation savings and took out a small loan, telling myself it was a one-time emergency. Then, in April, the water line broke. $8,200 for emergency repairs and fixing the yard. I canceled a trip to see my college roommate, picked up weekend marketing jobs for a local realtor, and ate ramen more nights than I want to admit. June brought the heating system failure, another $5,000 I didn't have. Every night after work, I sat at my kitchen table surrounded by spreadsheets and bills, crunching numbers that refused to add up. That's when the crying started. Quiet tears after midnight, when I knew no one walking their dog would see through my windows and discover that the cheerful woman they waved to every morning was breaking down inside. The bathroom mirror showed the cost every morning, dark circles my concealer couldn't hide, sharper collarbones, pants so loose I had to punch extra holes in my belt instead of buying smaller ones. Temporary problem. Temporary fix. And through it all, I packed my house every evening. 9 years of memory sorted into keep, donate, and trash. Books that once filled whole walls are now stacked in boxes. Wedding photos, graduation pictures, vacation snapshots, all bubble-wrapped and labeled in blue marker. I kept every piece of proof too, bank statements in order, repair invoices sorted by date, screenshots of text messages, a paper shield to protect me from the family stories Sophie was spreading. While packing my office bookshelf, I find a framed photo I forgot about. Me, standing on the front porch the day I bought this house, keys in hand, smiling so wide it almost split my face. The realtor caught the exact moment I realized I had done it, bought a home completely on my own. I run my finger along the frame, remembering that feeling, pure pride. No apologies. No need for anyone's approval. I place the photo carefully on top of a keep box, a reminder of what I built and what no one can take away. On Saturday afternoon, the doorbell rings while I'm wrapping dishes. Through the window, I see my parents' Buick in the driveway, and Sophie's little red car right behind it. No call, no warning. I think about ignoring them, but the knocking gets louder. When I open the door, they all walk in like funeral directors, serious, judgmental, ready to handle me. Mom sees the boxes. "You're really going through with this madness?" I wrap another plate and tape it shut. "The closing is in 3 weeks. Your sister needs you." Mom's voice rises. "You've always been selfish, but this is too far. Your sister needs you." The plate in my hand stays steady, even though something shifts inside me. My whole life, I've been told what Sophie needs. Did anyone ever ask what I need? I say, calmer than I feel. Dad clears his throat. "Vivian, be reasonable. I need financial stability. I need to sleep without panic attacks about bills. I need to stop draining my retirement savings to fix a house I can't afford." I keep packing as I talk. I don't pause to give them attention. I don't offer drinks or seats. I just keep working. We're your family, Mom says, her voice shaky with anger and confusion. Yes. And I've never once asked you for money. Not for college. Not for my first apartment. Not for this house. And not for any of the repairs that wiped out my savings. For once, they have nothing to say. Sophie stares at the floor. Dad looks up at the ceiling, suddenly fascinated by the light fixture. And then I realized something: I don't need their approval anymore. The craving for validation I've had since childhood is suddenly quiet, replaced by something stronger. When I stand to grab another stack of plates, I notice I'm standing straighter. My shoulders pulled back, eyes level instead of lowered. My posture shows exactly what's changed inside. That evening, Amara shows up with Thai food and 2 bottles of wine. She helps me pack photo albums while telling stories about her own sister, the one who didn't speak to her for 3 years because Amara wouldn't co-sign a loan. Family patterns are the hardest to break, she says as she wraps my grandmother's crystal vase. But sometimes breaking them is the only way to move forward. Monday, I get a surprise text from my coworker Thomas. Need help moving? I've got a truck and a strong back. Family often sees us the least clearly. Just tell me when. Later that afternoon, Nora, my financial advisor, emails me. Your townhouse application is approved. Based on your numbers, this move will cut your housing costs by 42%. It's the right choice for your long-term stability. Let me know if you need anything else. The difference hits me hard as I read their messages over dinner. These people ask what I need, not what I should give. They offer real help, not guilt. That night, I spread all my financial documents across the dining table: bank statements, repair invoices, tax assessments, retirement withdrawal forms, all neatly organized. Tomorrow's family meeting won't be them lecturing me. It will be the facts staring them in the face. They don't know my secret advantage: the sales contract includes a 30-day rent back. After closing, I get a whole month to stay here while I finalize my townhouse. Extra breathing room they know nothing about. At exactly 7 p.m. Tuesday, the doorbell rings. When I open it, my porch is full. Not just my parents and Sophie, but Aunt Josephine, Uncle Robert, and Cousin Jennifer. A whole family firing squad. I stand at the head of my dining table, feeling strangely at home in a position I've never taken before. In my hands is a manila folder holding every bill, every bank statement, every ugly number that explains why I had to sell. My hands don't tremble as I open it. Before anyone says anything, I need you all to see something. My voice is steady, stronger than I recognize. I lay out the documents in order. Bank statements, emergency withdrawals, repair invoices. Each paper is a piece of the story I've been carrying alone. This is the roof replacement from last spring, I say, sliding the $11,200 invoice toward the center of the table. The 30-year shingles only lasted 22. Insurance covered nothing. Uncle Allison leans forward, frowning deeply. Here's the waterline repair, $8,200. Another paper joins the first. When the city updated the main water line, they discovered that my own connection was falling apart. There was no warning, no payment plan, nothing. Just a bill dropped into my mailbox like a punch to the stomach. Ness. My mom shifts in her chair, looking like she wants to comment, but for once, she stays surprisingly quiet. And here, I continue, is the heating system replacement. $5,000. The third major bill completes what I now think of as my personal homeowner nightmare trilogy. The energy rebate helped, but only covered a small portion, barely a quarter of what I had to pay. As I explain each item, I keep strong eye contact, something I almost never managed in family arguments before today. From her seat near the window, Nora gives me the smallest nod, silently encouraging me to keep going. My emergency fund is gone. I lay my bank statement on top of the pile, the sad balance practically glowing on the page. My financial advisor told me it was smarter to sell while the market is still good, instead of waiting until I'm drowning and forced to sell at a loss. Suddenly, Sophie pushes her chair back so hard it screeches across the hardwood floor. This is creative accounting, Vivian. You've always been good with numbers when it benefits you. Her voice has that familiar sharpness, the same tone she uses when she's about to twist the story. You're just trying to get out of your responsibilities to this family. That's all this is. Before I can respond, Uncle Allison, the family judge and jury since forever, does something shocking. He turns toward her, not me. Sophie, he says slowly. What's your employment situation right now? Last I heard, you were between jobs. Sophie blinks, thrown off. I'm exploring opportunities. The job market is complicated right now. Mom jumps in before anyone can question that vague answer. Allison, that's not the point. This isn't about jobs. Family duty is family duty. It doesn't matter what anyone earns. Then Aunt Josephine adjusts her reading glasses and squints at my heating bill like she's reviewing a legal document. Well, if we're talking about space, she says lightly, why can't Sophie stay with you and Roger? Don't you have a guest room you just redecorated? The conversation shifts like a rip current, suddenly turning away from me and swirling around the room as everyone starts questioning the family setup I've lived with my whole adult life. Amara clears her throat gently. I've known this family for 20 years, she says, wrapping her words in calm honesty. Vivian bought her house on her own, without a cent of family help. Meanwhile, I've watched Sophie receive assistance with rent, her car payments, and her credit cards again and again. Her voice isn't loud, but it carries the weight of the truth. The pattern has been obvious to everyone, except the people in this room. Nora smooths her blazer and folds her hands. As Vivian's financial advisor, I can tell you this, when you keep supporting someone financially, you actually hurt both sides. The giver drains their resources, and the receiver never learns the skills they need to stand on their own. Thomas, who's been quiet until now, leans forward. My brother lived with my parents until he was 42. They paid everything, bills, appointments, problems. After they died, he couldn't manage anything. He lost their house in a year because he never learned how to handle money. He glances at my parents. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is stop rescuing someone. The room becomes strangely still as these outside voices start cutting through decades of family habits. Uncle Allison finally breaks the silence. Vivian, why didn't you tell us you were struggling like this? I pause, the question almost knocking the air out of me. Should I keep the independence that has always been my armor? Or would opening up, even just a little, finally let someone support me instead of judging me? Before I can decide, Dad shifts in his seat, staring at the hardwood floor. It hits me that this is one of the only times I've seen him sit through a family argument without taking over. Mom's posture softens too, her fists unclenching until her hands lie open on the table. Then Sophie shoots to her feet, grabbing her purse. This is ridiculous. You're all acting like I'm some kind of parasite. Her voice cracks with anger. Vivian's always been the golden child. The perfect job, the perfect house, while everyone pretends they don't see how hard things have been for me. When no one rushes to defend her, she storms toward the door. The slam echoes through the whole house. Uncle Allison waits until the sound fades. I think we need a family financial planning session, he says slowly. For everyone. His eyes slid toward my parents, then toward the door where Sophie disappeared. Mom's eyes shine with tears, but for once they're not aimed at me like weapons. Dad reaches across the table and takes her hand. His face is unreadable, but the silence says more than any speech could. For the first time in a family fight, I don't feel like I'm the one doing something wrong. Later, I pack the last of my kitchen glasses into a box, wrapping each one in newspaper. I'm in the final week of my 30-day countdown, and the house already feels empty. Like the memories are peeling off the walls with every item I pack. The doorbell rings. Right on time. My parents are always punctual when they have an agenda. I open the door and find not only my parents, but Sophie with them, standing on my porch like a united front. Mom clutches her purse so tightly her knuckles turn white. Dad gives me a smile that looks rehearsed. "Vivian, honey," Mom says, stepping past me into the house without waiting. "We've been talking, and we think we found the perfect solution." "A compromise," Dad adds, using that overly cheerful tone he pulls out only during difficult conversations. Sophie walks in after them, her eyes darting around my half-packed living room. Then she gives me this fake grateful look like she's in a commercial for forgiveness. "I really appreciate you hearing us out." They settle onto the couch, the only thing I haven't wrapped in moving blankets. I stay standing. "The imbalance is obvious to all of us." Mom starts. "We know selling the house is your decision." Her laugh is nervous, trying too hard. "But instead of Sophie moving in with you, what if you helped her get her own place?" Dad nods like a bobblehead. "Just a small loan to get her started. With your success, it wouldn't affect you much." Sophie adds softly, "Not like me. Some people just have bad luck, you know?" The guilt hangs in the air like smoke. The message is clear. You're successful. She's struggling. You owe her. Mom leans forward, lowering her voice. "Vivian, our family has always stuck together. If you can't help your sister this one time." She trails off, but the thread is loud and clear. Help Sophie financially. Or lose the family. I walk to the dining table where several documents are laid out neatly. Their confident expressions slip as they watch me pick one up. "I'm meeting with my lender tomorrow," I say calmly, holding up a pre-approval letter. "The townhouse I'm applying for downtown will lower my housing costs by almost 40%. I handed Dad the letter. His eyebrows shoot up as soon as he sees the numbers. "Selling the house isn't about hurting Sophie," I say. "It's about rebuilding my emergency savings. It's about lowering my stress. It's about finally taking care of my own financial health." Mom starts to argue, but I raise my hand. "I can't support Sophie financially," I say. "But I can help her support herself." I take a business card from my pocket and offer it to Sophie. She stares at it like it's a trick. The marketing department at my job has an entry-level position opening next week. The salary is enough to afford a one-bedroom apartment. I talked to HR. They're willing to interview you. Sophie opens her mouth, closes it, then opens it again. For once, she's actually speechless. "This isn't charity," I add gently. "It's an opportunity. What you do with it is your choice." Dad suddenly stands and walks to the window, staring at the empty hooks where photos used to hang. "Vivian, be reasonable. Sophie needs." "No," I interrupt, walking to the coffee table where a manila folder sits. "This is what reasonable looks like." I open the folder and pull out a spreadsheet I prepared days ago. I place it on the table between us. "This is every financial gift you've given Sophie over the past 5 years," I say quietly. "Car payments. Rent help. Credit card bailouts." The total at the bottom is circled in red. Mom gasps. "I pulled this just from the conversations you've had in front of me. I'm sure the real number is even higher." Dad studies the paper, frowning deeply. "This isn't love," I say softly. "This is dependence. And it's hurting everyone." Mom's voice breaks. "We just wanted to help her." "The best help," I reply, "is teaching someone to stand on their own. You taught me that once, remember? When did I want to quit college? You told me that making things too easy would hold me back." The memory hits all of us at once. Silence follows, heavy, uncomfortable, honest. Finally, Dad wraps an arm around Mom. "We should go," he says. They walk to the door. Mom avoids my eyes. Sophie pauses, glancing at the business card still lying on the table. "I don't need your charity job," she mutters, but the confidence isn't there. I set the card on the entry table. It's not charity. It's just a chance. As she walks out after them, I watch her slip the card into her purse when she thinks I'm not looking. The door closes. Their car engine starts. Silence settles over the half-empty room. And for the first time in a long time, the silence feels like my own. The silence in the house feels different now, not empty or depressing, but wide, open, almost like it's giving me room to breathe for the first time in a long while. I slowly sink onto the couch, letting my hand glide over the familiar fabric, remembering how many nights I curled up here trying to hold myself together. Tomorrow, this couch gets moved into storage until I finally settle into my new townhouse. It's strange thinking about it. I've lived in this house for 9 years, 9 years of habits, routines, memories, arguments, laughter, all of it. And now, ahead of me, there's this future I still can't clearly see. It feels exciting and terrifying at the same time. I feel free in a way I've never felt before, but also surprisingly lonely. It's like I'm celebrating and grieving at the same moment. The family dinner next month sits heavy in my thoughts. Will they still want me there? Will things be awkward? Did the confrontation change our relationships forever? I'm still not sure. The answering machine light blinks at me, 3 new messages. Probably more relatives calling to share their thoughts or give advice I never asked for. I ignore it and focus instead on the business card Sophie took earlier. One small step forward, maybe the first of many steps in a new direction, for both of us. Later, I stand in the middle of my downtown loft, just admiring the space. It feels bigger than I remembered. Sunlight streams through the tall windows, warming the hardwood floor under my bare feet and making the whole place glow. 3 months ago, this loft felt like a temporary stop, a compromise, something I had to accept instead of something I chose. But now? Now it feels like the home I never knew I actually needed. I check another box on my budget list, tapping through my financial tracking app. My new mortgage payment pops up, 30% less than what I paid for the Craftsman house. Seeing it gives me a strange sense of control. Thanks to Nora's weekly check-ins, something that once kept me up at night has become a routine I actually feel proud of. She turned my fear into structure, and that structure makes me feel steady again. On the kitchen island sits my newest purchase, a professional-grade camera, something I used to think was way out of my reach. In my old financial world, it would have stayed a far-off dream. But now it's here, waiting for me. My first photography class starts tomorrow evening. The course catalog is still open on my tablet, like it's cheering me on. I run my fingers across the camera's textured grip, feeling a sense of permission to create, to explore, to live instead of just surviving. My phone buzzes with a reminder, Sunday dinner at my parents'. My shoulders tense automatically, the way they always do before those dinners, but I take a slow breath and let myself relax. The dinners have changed a little. And honestly, I think I have too. Later that day, I walked through my parents' front door holding a bottle of wine instead of a knot of anxiety. Dad walks up and pulls me into a hug, one that actually feels real and warm instead of forced or routine. "Vivian, come see what your sister brought," he calls out, and for once there's no comparison in his tone, no hint that I should be more like her. In the dining room, Sophie is arranging flowers in a vase, simple but pretty. She looks up and smiles at me, and it's a real smile, one that softens her whole face. "They gave me my first business cards today," she says proudly, pulling one out of her pocket. "Assistant marketing coordinator." I mean, it sounds fancy for someone who spends half her time grabbing coffee for people, but I'm learning so much. She hands the card to me, and for the first time in years, her pride isn't wrapped in insecurity or defensiveness. It's just pride. Mom steps into the room carrying a casserole. And surprisingly, she doesn't place it closer to Sophie's seat like she always used to. "Tell us more about that social media campaign you mentioned last week," she says to Sophie. Then she turns to me with equal attention. "And Vivian, how was your photography class?" I blink, still trying to adjust. Balanced attention. Equal interest. It feels new. It feels strange. But it feels good. During dinner, I noticed Dad asking thoughtful questions. Questions for both of us, not just for Sophie. He listens, really listens, without hanging on to her every word the way he used to. It feels like the beginning of something healthier. A week later, my loft is filled with laughter as Amara lifts her glass to make a toast. To homes that shelter us, she says, smiling warmly, and boundaries that protect us. Around my coffee table sit Thomas, Nora, Uncle Allison, and me, my chosen family, the people who helped me rebuild myself. And beside them is the one blood relative who surprised me the most this year. Amara hands me a picture frame with 2 photos inside, one of me signing my very first mortgage papers 9 years ago, and one of me holding the keys to this new townhouse. 2 brave beginnings, she says softly. I look at the pictures and feel something shift in my chest. 2 very different women, I reply, realizing just how much I've changed, and how much courage it took to get here. The following weekend, Sophie and I are at my kitchen table, surrounded by spreadsheets, calculator apps, and notepads. She's fully focused. So if I save 15% of each paycheck, I can afford the first and last month's rent by January, she says, biting her lip as she double-checks her math. She looks determined, more determined than I've ever seen her. Our parents sit quietly on the sofa, watching us. I see pride in their eyes, but also regret. We should have done this years ago, Mom says softly. We thought we were helping, but we ended up hurting both of you in different ways. Dad nods slowly, the weight of the truth settling in his expression. He's unlearning years of habits, and it shows. As I watch Sophie calculate her budget with new confidence, I start thinking about the thin line between helping someone and enabling them. Is there ever a perfect balance? Or do we sometimes have to let the people we love struggle so they can learn to stand on their own? Did you enjoy the story? And where are you watching from? Drop it in the comments, I'd love to know. Thank you so much for your support. I truly can't wait to read your comments. On the screen now are 2 more true life stories I really recommend. There's so much more waiting for you on the channel. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you in the next life story, with love and respect.